you do church online, there are a few rules of live stream etiquette you'll need to follow. First, make sure you wear Sunday's best. Uh-oh. Now that's the ticket. You don't want to look like a crumb bum to the rest of your family, do you? You want this to be as close to your normal church experience as possible, so make sure you brew yourself a nice hot cup of joe. You know what they say, fueled by coffee, saved by grace, whatever that means. And don't forget to spill a little on the living room carpet to make the experience authentic. While you're getting settled in, make sure you grab a journal to take notes on. Your kids won't think you're a cotton-headed nitty-muggin', they'll think you're swell. One great thing about church at home is no one can hear you crunching loudly on snacks. So turn that volume up on the television and snack away. We call them sermon snacks. And you won't have to get up in the middle of the sermon to grab a snack because you came prepared. Finally, you can host a party. No, not a physical party, you junkhead. Host an online party or share the link to our live stream with your friends. It's the easiest way to invite them to church with you. Now you've got it. You've got some moxie.
Hey, welcome. We're glad that you've chosen to hang out with us at live. It's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day. I know that's odd. Hey, thanks for joining us for life. We're still online, we're virtually together. So if you take a second, say hi to us in chat because so we know you're there. Hopefully, you would say hi to everybody when you go to youth normally. So say hi to us now in chat. Let us know you're there, and so that we can say hi back and engage. Most of you talk the whole time during youth, including when I'm speaking anyway. So I'm kind of used to that. So feel free to get in chat and talk. Um, we do want to let you know that hopefully we won't be doing this virtual thing. We'll actually be able to be in person pretty soon. We don't have times and dates yet, but we're working in that direction. So hopefully we'll be together for normal youth again soon. To find out when that happens, we'll try to keep you informed. And one of the ways we do that is through our social media. So at the bottom of the screen, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, those kind of things, or your mom can follow us on Facebook. Life Youth Men is kind of the tag for all of those. So take a second and check that out so that you can be aware of that. Even though things are starting to move along and you're able to get out more and do more things, some of you are like, I've been doing stuff the whole time. But those of you that have been stuck at home, we know that it stinks to be stuck at home. We are still going to do our life meetups on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2. So want to continue to invite you to join us for those. We'll be on Zoom, and the code and everything is there at the bottom of the screen, and the password's 2292. But join us for life meetups at 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's a lot of T's. Tuesdays, Thursdays at 2. And also right after this, when we're done, we'll be on Zoom. We'll play some games, do some stuff. So want to encourage you to be part of that. Also, We have a Discord server, so if you're into Discord and you're on Discord and hanging out there, we do have a server, and you can be part of our server. The announcements go there too, so that's one more way to keep in touch with us, to find out what's going on, so that you can be aware of what's happening and what we're doing and when we're maybe getting back to normal, all those kind of things. Hey, every week we've had a challenge, something for you to do, work on in your own time. So, in case you're bored, this past week we gave you the church clap challenge. And the church clap challenge was basically to do the church clap dance. And many of you did it, a number of you guys did it. Some of you made your families help. Some looks like you practice, some not so much. So, here's the video, here's the results for the church clap challenge.
Church mother in they church hat clap. Man, that sure gave her color purple coming back clap. When that whole week beat you up and stress you, but you hear that organ playing and remind you of your blessings. And on another note, she just hit another note. Chills down my spine, got me crying, make me overload. You don't know about it though. Old school church hymns, deacons get the humming, now the drummer finna burst in. Lordy, Lordy, Lord. Can you hear me now? Church close, sweater, you don't care, you just get it now. Testify how we made martyrs out of these fathers and rose up all of his daughters to glorify him with honor. Man, I swear Thomas Jones with her head did. Now it's flying everywhere, she don't care what her head did. She an egg, yeah, caught up in the egg, yeah. Probably why she clapping like Jesus just repaired it. Give me that God Almighty, that good old Bible, that old school doctrine. Give me that truth for the body, ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. 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 I wanna be the type of dude to get the Lord on his feet. I wanna do the type of shows that the Lord wanna see. What I mean, if I can make the whole church clap, it ain't a clap in the heavens, then that clap just a clap, clap. For his son glorified, sin mortified. The Holy Spirit going word, that truth ain't watered down. It's sound doctrine, gets birthed in the common. Nothing wrong with singing loud, but that ain't where the power's on. The church has been clapping at weak sermons, leaving the weak hurt. No one's changed by Sunday service. We need discernment, check what you be affirming, cause the church can be full of members but empty in conversion. Preach the gospel and stand back. Look for change lives, not for hand claps. Love people well, okay, can't stand at the church, just the church with the words, but we stand up. Give me that God Almighty, that good old Bible, that old school doctrine. Give me that truth for the body, ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. 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 Come on.
Hey, this week, I don't know what to say. That was awesome. Good job, you guys. Maybe you noticed there was even a little youth camp clip in there. But it was awesome. Good job. This week's challenge is quarantine bingo. So basically, what you have to do is you'll see a sheet. It'll look kind of like this, and choose a couple squares a day. You can do 2 a day, and do whatever it says in the square. The object is obviously to get bingo. Only 2 a day, and once you get bingo, each day send me whatever you do. Send me a photo of whatever you do so that I get it. and I can see it and prove that you did it, and then we'll mark you have that space. When you get bingo, there is a reward, there is a prize. We're trying to figure out how to get people that kind of stuff, but we do have a small prize for you if you get bingo. So take a second and look at the card, maybe plan out your day. Some of you are that way, some of you won't remember, but we'll try to remind you on Instagram and stuff, so that you'll actually do it. So we want to challenge you to get bingo this week, the quarantine challenge bingo. So please take a moment or two to do that. Hey, every week we do some shout outs, and just to recognize some people, let people know what's happening. So we always do birthdays. So happy birthday tomorrow to Maddie Crisfield. She's having a birthday tomorrow. And then Josiah, brother, is having a birthday on the 22nd. So I guess there's lots of birthday parties there at the Crisfield's house. There's a whole bunch of them, so not surprising. So happy birthday, Maddie. Happy birthday, Josiah. Have a great day on those days. And also, Skylar Keever, it will be having a birthday on the 23rd, so happy birthday to him. Hey, birthday, probably still no birthday parties, but have an amazing day. Have a good time. We also want to do some shout outs, to our seniors. It's one of those things where they unfortunately don't get to graduation and all those kind of things. So that's kind of sad, but we do want to recognize them and kind of call your attention to them so you can see who they are. So our seniors for tonight, we want to shout out to Micah Adkins. She's homeschooled and she'll be graduating this year. She's not sure where she's going to school yet, but her plan is to major in cross-cultural communications with a kind of the eye on being a missionary. And that's an awesome goal to aspire to, and be praying for Micah as she picks schools and kind of finishes that process. We also want to shout out to Caroline Brandis. She's graduating from Athens. Caroline's going to Ohio University, and she's going to be majoring in biology. And eventually she's going to be a vet, so pre-vet biology. She's going to OU. So shout out and congratulations to her. Our next senior is Mariah Heflin. She's also graduating from Athens, and she's also going to Ohio University. Mariah's going to be studying communications. Obviously, I'm not, because I can't say that word, but she'll be majoring in communications. So congratulations, Mariah. Our next senior is Whitney Bird. Whit is graduating from Alexander, and he actually received a scholarship to Rio Grande, and he'll be playing golf with them. So congratulations to Whit, and good luck on the golf and the school part too. Our last senior shout out tonight is to Taylor Meadows. She's graduating from Alexander, and she's going to be continuing her soccer career. She got a scholarship at Cedarville University, and she'll be majoring in nursing. So good luck on the soccer team, and congratulations for graduating. All of our seniors, congratulations. Hey, and if you're a senior, you know a senior that we haven't mentioned or we haven't kind of put their photo up, send us their photo. Let us know that they're graduating so we can recognize them on Sunday Night Live as well. So please take a moment to do that so we can shout out to them. Hey, on a very special announcement, this Friday night, this coming Friday, we're going to be doing something special. Good Works, which is a ministry here in Athens County, helps people who are homeless and poor and are struggling in many different ways. They've got lots of different programs to help those folks. And this Friday, we're going to help them. And what we're going to be doing is they have a thing called Friday Night Dinner, and we're going to be part of the Friday Night Dinner. Here's what we will be doing. At 3:30, we're going to meet at our church. And we're going to load up my truck, and if we need more space, we'll get another vehicle. And we're going to drive out to Good Works, and we're going to hand out the food. You'll need a mask, and you'll need gloves. We can probably supply the gloves, but if you've got a mask, you'll need to wear a mask. And we're going to serve folks and we'll be done about 6 o'clock, so 3:30 to 6 o'clock, and we'll be out at Good Works and sharing them. We don't have to prepare the food or get it ready. We show up at 3:30. We've got other people from the church that'll be doing that. So we want you to help. But here's the thing, I need 4 people. 4, not 17, not 12. So the first 4 people that first check with your mom and dad, make sure it's cool, and that you can be there this Friday, 3:30 to 6 o'clock. It will be done at 6 o'clock at Good Works. If that's you, you check with your parents and you can do it, be one of the first 4 to let me know. So, and I'll put your name down and you can be part of that. So if you have questions, contact me. But the first 4 to contact me and say, hey, I want to do it, because we only need 4. So this Friday night, we'll meet at the church at 3:30, and we'll be done at Good Works at about 6 o'clock. So if you can do that, please contact me and let me know. Hey, every week we've been doing a Silly Songs with Baby. Today's no exception, and it's a special one today. It's Temptation Boogie. Check it out.
Hello and welcome to Silly Songs with Baby, the part of the show where Baby comes out and sings a silly song.
Hey, ready? Ready? How are you? Okay. I wake up Monday morning with my head all full of nothing. I went down to McDonald's to get me an Egg McMuffin. Still asleep, yet wide awake around 7:23 when this loudmouth, pushy businessman cut in front of me. My eyes went cold and I clenched my fist. I wanted to thump him good, but then the Spirit stopped me when I saw how it stood. The Holy Ghost reminded me I represent the Lord, and it would be hard to witness to him stretched out on the floor.
This has been Silly Songs with Baby. Come back next time to hear another silly song.
Thanks, Baby, for those, for that song, whatever that was. Thanks. Hey, we've been going through the book of Titus in the last few weeks, and the whole thing's called Tips from Titus, and we've been just kind of finding some things about what it looks like to follow Jesus. How do we move forward and get closer to Him? And Titus has got a lot of practical things, and we took the first kind of 2 weeks to set the stages, what those practical things are, and we talked about the fact this is not about legalism, but it's about your heart's desire to follow Jesus. And then we talked about the fact that a lot of these things don't come natural. We have to learn them. We have to be taught them, and God teaches us how to do those things. We learn those things. And then the last few weeks, we've been dealing with a whole bunch of tips. And as a matter of fact, the last 3 weeks, we've been looking at Titus chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. That's all we've gotten to so far. And here's some of the tips already. I'll go through them really fast. We talked about how to deal with authority, that we need to be subject to authority. We talked about dealing with rules and how we need to be obedient. We talked about dealing with opportunities for doing good, and we need to be ready for that. We talked about the fact that we're not supposed to slander and talk maliciously about people. We're not supposed to be brawlers. We're supposed to be peaceable. We're supposed to be considerate, gentle, kind of reasonable people. We're supposed to be meek, and that means we give a consideration to other people. This week, we're going to use the same passage as we have been. We're going to add that next verse on. So this week, we're going to once again look at that. And some people, we heard them read the passage of Scripture last week. We're going to hear it again from some of them. So here it is, Titus chapter 3, verses 1 through 3.
Remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready, to do whatever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceable and considerate, and always to be gentle towards everyone. At one time we were too foolish, disobedient, deceived, and enslaved by all kinds of passions and pleasures. We lived in malice and envy, being hated and hating one another.
Remind them to be subject to rulers, authorities, to be obedient, to be ready for every good deed, to malign no one, to be peaceable, gentle, showing every consideration for all men. For we also once were foolish ourselves, disobedient, deceived, enslaved to various lusts and pleasures, spending our life in malice, envy, hateful, and hating one another.
Titus 3 verses 1 through 3. Put them in mind to be subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work, to speak evil of no man, to be no brawlers, but gentle, showing all meekness unto all men. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving divers lusts and pleasures, living in malice and envy, hateful and hating one another.
This week we're going to focus on that last verse. It says, at one time we too were foolish, disobedient, deceived, and enslaved by all kinds of passions and pleasures. We lived in malice and envy, being hated and hating one another. I love the fact that it says we used to be. That's not who we are anymore. That's not how we behave anymore. As we follow Christ, as God changes us, as God's works in us, we're not those things anymore. We are not those people. One of the things I want you to walk away from today is the fact that when you follow Christ, He changes you. He impacts you. He makes a difference in your life. He changes you. And He changes you in a couple ways we see in this passage. So let me break it down to some of the things, some of the ways that God changes us so that we aren't this way anymore. And there's just three things. So the first thing is this: how we think. It says that we used to be foolish, disobedient, and deceived. And really a lot of those three things really have to do with our kind of our thought process and how we think. And foolish, kind of the word there means that you don't even know what you don't know. I don't know if you've ever been in one of those situations to where you don't even know that you didn't know something. And you're like, oh. And when it finally, you get it and it dawns on you, you're like, oh, if I had only known that before, I would not feel as stupid as I feel right now. I would not have made the decisions I've made. I would not have done what I did. When it says we're not foolish anymore, basically means it changes us because we look at life differently. We don't go, we go, oh, if I would have known that was what God wanted, if I was known that was how God wanted me to live, I wouldn't have made the decisions. I wouldn't have been foolish. The word disobedient is kind of an interesting word because we think of disobedience as here's the rule, you disobeyed, but the Greek word there, one of the things that it means, or one of the ways it can be translated is you're not willing to change your mind, which kind of would make you disobedient. But you're not willing to change your mind. In other words, I've decided what I've decided, and what I've decided is right. And I don't care what you say. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with somebody like that, that they've decided something and is like, oh, nope, I've decided, doesn't matter. You can argue and argue and argue. It doesn't matter. You can give them all the facts. I've decided this is the way it is. And you've been in that conversation. Maybe they say the earth is flat or whatever. And you've had that kind of experience with them and how frustrating that is. Well, one of the things that happens is as we follow Christ, we allow Him to change our mind. We don't look at God and say, oh, God, you don't understand. This is the way it should be. This is the way it always should be. God begins to change our mind and help us think in a different way. And as a matter of fact, there's a passage that talks about the fact that God renews our mind. He changes how we think. The last kind of thought process thing here is deceived. And what's really interesting, the Greek word deceived there is basically can mean wondering. Not wondering, but wandering. And it's one of those things where you wander around like you don't know what's right. You don't know what's true. So you're kind of impacted and you just kind of wander. And man, that's a lot of people are that way. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong. And they just kind of guess, well, I sort of believe this. And now I believe this. And I'm an atheist today. And then maybe I'm going to be a spiritual atheist, or I'm going I'm going to be this, or I'm going to go that direction. And and it's that wandering. And part of what happens is when God comes and changes us and we have faith and he begins to work in us, we don't wander anymore. We begin to have this, I know, I'm confident. And one of the things that God does is change that. So he changes how we think. And the other thing, the next thing I see is this. It talks about the fact that we, and enslaved by all kinds of passions and pleasure. Passions and pleasure. Those actually sound like a really good thing. We should be passionate about stuff. And pleasure, if you some of the versions talk about lust. And passions and pleasure are basically the things that are outside of us and how we act. In other words, we chase these things. We pursue this stuff, how it makes us feel, really a lot about how we feel. So maybe we're passionate about something and or we want pleasure, so we do those things to because of our passion and our pleasure, the things that draw us, things that excite us. Sometimes that's a sexual thing, sometimes it's a habit, sometimes it's whatever it is, those passions and pleasures. And here's the thing, we go, passions and pleasure, is that really that big of a deal? Yeah, because they can enslave us. They can keep us captive, because the passions and the pleasures that we experience never seem to be enough. I'm going to take a song out of context, but I want you to watch it and listen to the words of this song. Now, some of you I know were just singing along. I get that. That was from The Greatest Showman. And let me give you just a little kind of backstory. Um, Obviously, The Greatest Showman, Barnum and all those kind of things. The lady singing on stage, she gives him the looks. That's Barnum. And the lady with the two kids, that's Barnum's wife. And there's this kind of questionable relationship and all those kind of things. But one of the things that's really interesting to me is this. As you listen to the words, it talks about never enough. All the stuff, the lights, the sound, the applause, the money, none of it's ever going to be enough without that person's love. Well, the sad part is if you watch the movie, the person singing the song never gets that love. But what that does for me is illustrate the fact that when we follow our passions and our desire for pleasure, it's never enough. And we kind of always are looking for the next thing, the next, another level of passion and another level of pleasure, a little bit more. And that was really great, but I want a little bit more. I mean, think about how many things in your life that you've pursued are kind of that way and you never quite get there. And what happens is it kind of begins to trap us in our lives. And when we begin to experience Christ, we're freed from those things. You see, because we now have truly the love that we need, the fulfillment that we need. The last thing that I see that this verse tells us that we are no longer has to do with how we relate to other people. And it really focuses around two words, malice and envy. And if you have malice and envy, you're going to hate and be hated. That's just kind of true. So malice is this. It's one of those kind of weird words, and it actually has all kinds of definitions. But one of the definitions, I think it really works here and helps us understand is that it interprets the actions of others and attributes them with the worst motives. When you have malice in your heart, you look at what somebody's doing and immediately you think the worst of them. Immediately you're like, oh. And sometimes it may not even be somebody that you're angry at. It's just you look at people and you've got this kind of malice in you. And you've got this attitude and you look at people and you expect the worst. And so if they're trying to do something, you have this kind of cynical attitude kind of thing. And malice. And envy. Envy is basically not just wanting what other people have, but resenting them from having it. It's like you can want what somebody has and say, man, I really kind of wish I had that. because you might be happy for them or whatever. But envy takes it that next level. And it's like, yeah, I want what you've got, and I'm mad at you, and I'm kind of resentful of you because you have it. Well, here's the thing. God, when he comes into our lives, gives us everything we need. All the love, all the grace. He gives us what we need. So the malice and envy that we experienced before, that not trusting people and desire, all those kind of things, God begins to change in us. We're not like that anymore. So tonight, I just want to look at your life before and after. Before Christ, after Christ. And when you do that, two things will happen. One, you may say, yeah, there's things that I need to keep working on. There's been some change, but not enough in how I think and how I behave and how I relate to others. It's just not been quite enough yet. And so take it as a challenge and say, those are some things I need to work on. And there's also the other thing that happens. When I think about who I was, it keeps me humble. So when I look at somebody else who maybe isn't doing as well as I am, who is struggling spiritually or maybe doesn't even know God, I don't get real judgmental and all kind of looking down on them, because you know what? I struggle with all that stuff too. And it's only because of what God did that's changed. So we don't have to be those people anymore. God teaches us. God changes us. It impacts how we think and how we behave and how we relate to others. Hey, let's pray together. God, thank you for the fact that you love us and care for us beyond anything we can imagine. And I just ask that you would help us to continue as we look at these tips from Titus, as we walk through those things and look at them, that it's not about legalistic kind of things that do this, don't do that, although there's a number of things there. But as we pursue you, you change us. We are not the same people. And God, maybe we need to do just a little heart check and say, God, have you changed us? Have you worked in us? And if we don't know you, we can invite you in to work in us and change us. And God, maybe there are still things that you're working on us. It tells us in Titus that you teach us. So God, continue to teach us. Or God, maybe we've been struggling because we've been a little judgmental of others. Help us to realize it's only because of what you've done that we are who we are, and that you've changed us, not us changing us. Thanks, God. Continue to work in us. In your name, amen. Hey, just want to remind you, in just a little bit, we'll be doing meetups, and contact me if you want to be part of the Good Works thing on Friday. But before we go, obviously, we have an Adventures with Rex unicorn hunting.
Unicorn hunting, yeah! We got our camos on, we're ready to go. Quiet! I'm gonna hide here. Trying to call the unicorns. Okay, we need to be really, really quiet. We're gonna sneak up on him. Yeah! Yeah! Well, it was a good unicorn hunt today. And now we're gonna have some unicorn meat for dinner. Yeah!
That was sweet. So unicorn hunting with Rex. Hey, listen, in just a minute we're going to be in Zoom. So the meeting ID is right there, 2292. So join us in Zoom. And thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget, quarantine bingo this week. And if you are interested and able to join us, go into Good Works for that meal on Friday, let me know. I can only take 4 with me, so as soon as you can. Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.